Whether you have an employment, criminal, family, corporate, or personal injury matter, legal issues can be puzzling. The lawyers at Devry, Smith & Frank make all the pieces fit together.
For those of us who are lawyers, to be reminded about some of these principles that inform the advice that we're giving to our clients on a regular basis. So I appreciate that. My name is Chris Datham. I'm a lawyer in the employment law group with Devry, Smith & Frank. I've been there since 2010 when I did my articles with the firm. And I've got, in addition to practicing employment law, a general commercial litigation practice, which encompasses a substantial amount of construction litigation.
Sorry, can you just speak up a bit?
Oh, absolutely. I was just saying, I've got a general commercial litigation practice, which encompasses a substantial amount of construction litigation, dealing with shareholder disputes, and a variety of other commercial litigation matters, ranging from tax issues to intellectual property issues. The topic they've asked me to speak to you about today is one that I find interesting personally, and it's the impact of social media on employment law issues. And I've got a bit of a bifurcated approach that I'd like to take to it. The first part of it being the impact on hiring, i.e. background checks, which have become a common practice. And the second aspect is firing. There have been a number of reported decisions over the recent years where people lose their jobs because of things they post online. The issues that come up are, of course, with respect to a reasonable expectation of privacy. Do you have a reasonable expectation of privacy with respect to what you put on your Facebook page? Does it matter if you restrict access or if your page is public? Does an employer have a right to do background checks on a prospective employee? And what are the limits of that right? Can you ask the prospective employee for their Facebook password or for other information which they may not want to give you? And part of the reason this is becoming an interesting topic is because of the usage statistics. Taking just a very quick look at this information online, finding that, now this is in the United States, but 30% of a person's time on a computer is occupied with social networking. 17% of that time is on Facebook, by far the most popular social networking site. And I also found it interesting that you got the statistic that 51% of people in the age group of 25 to 34 are using social networking sites in their office. And a third of people in the age group of 18 to 24 are using social networking sites in the bathroom. Now, I put this up because it surprised me. It had never occurred to me to do social networking in the bathroom. Maybe I should get with the times. And I was also astonished at how common the practice of doing background checks is. This is a statistic from the United States. It's from ExecuNet. I can't recall which state they operate out of, but they're a recruitment firm. And 90% of recruiters who are looking at candidates for executive positions are just simply Googling the names to see what they can find out about this person that's looking for a job. What's become more of an issue in recent times is employers asking for Facebook passwords. So I put this news clip up on the screen. I apologize if you can't see it, but this is a case from the United States where Mr. Justin Bassett was applying for a job and was asked for his Facebook password. What did he do? He wanted the job, so he gave it to the employer. Similar story here about an Oakville man, ironically the same date as the previous article. An Oakville man applying for a job with the police service. He went to the interview. He was going through everything very well and without any incident until the interviewer said, "May I please have your Facebook password?" He initially resisted, but like most prospective employees, wanted the job and gave it up. Not surprisingly, Facebook says you shouldn't do this. the policy statement from the Facebook privacy officer is as follows. This practice undermines the privacy expectations and the security of both the user and the user's friends. It also potentially exposes the employer who seeks this access to unanticipated liability. Now, I'd say it's not surprising that Facebook is going to take this position. Facebook has been subject to criticism about privacy issues over recent years, and there have been issues as to whether Facebook complies with privacy statutes and regulations of the various provinces. The issue from our perspective and from my perspective here today is largely whether it's legal to ask an employee for their Facebook password. Sure, of course, there's no issue with Googling someone. If you can find the information on Google, it's public, right? Any information that you can find out about me through doing a Google search, I can't suggest I have a reasonable expectation of privacy. I believe that the legal issue with respect to requesting Facebook passwords largely comes as a human rights one. And that's very broadly. And I put, and again, I apologize for the size of this, but I put section 23 sub 2 of the Ontario Human Rights Code up on the screen here. And I'll read that for those of you who can't see it. The right under section 5, and I'll tell you what that is, the right under section 5 to equal treatment with respect to employment is infringed where a form of application for employment is used or a written or oral inquiry is made of an applicant that directly or indirectly classifies or indicates qualifications by a prohibited ground of discrimination. And those prohibited grounds set out in section 5 include race, ancestry, place of origin, color, ethnic origin, citizenship, creed, age, record of offenses, marital status, family status, or disability. What are the chances that someone's Facebook page might say something about one of those things? Maybe not record of offenses, but more often than not, it'll say something about your marital status, your age, or your ethnic origin. Now, of course, some of those things will also come out from other aspects of the interview. Sometimes you can tell just by meeting someone. Now, part of what makes this particularly interesting, especially from my perspective, is that there's no reported decision that actually deals with this. It's nice as a lawyer if I've got the comfort of knowing what a judge or an arbitrator has said about this at some point. The best authority that I've got is this Professor David Devry, who's with York University, not Osgood, but York, who says that it's a no-brainer that you can't ask for their Facebook password. And he cited this provision of the Ontario Human Rights Code. And I've quoted him here on my slide. He says, put it this way. Could a prospective employer ask you directly what church, temple, or synagogue you attend, or whether you are married, gay, or have children? Of course not. So why can they ask you for the key to access a personal web page that can tell them that information indirectly? If you have a piece of paper locked in your glove compartment with all the info about your sexual orientation, religion, family, and age, can an employer insist on having that key? Well, of course they can. I will also point out, though, again, that there is no reported decision on this and that it's a bit of a live issue. Obviously, when an employer asks for a Facebook password, and it's not a common practice, although we are seeing more of it, they are perhaps not looking for information that is specifically meant to be protected by the Ontario Human Rights Code. They may be looking for other things. They're wondering if you're a wild party animal with crazy pictures on Facebook or something like that. And so it is still a matter of debate. On a somewhat of a practical note, you've got to consider, of course, the fact that there are implications for an employer in asking for such a password. The Ontario Court of Appeal has recently recognized a new tort, which stands alone, intrusion upon seclusion, also sometimes referred to as invasion of privacy. And that's the case of Jones and Seagay. One of my colleagues, Flora Poon, will be speaking about that in a little bit more detail. But you have to appreciate that someone may have legitimate privacy concerns about the information that they have taken steps to protect through restricted settings on their Facebook page. And where a person suffers harm as a result of being forced to give up that information, they may have a civil claim. There's also potential liability for inducing a breach of contract with Facebook. It may be difficult to see what loss could be sustained, but nonetheless, a Facebook user does have a contract with the site, and by forcing someone to give them their password, one would be forcing them to breach the contract. There's also concerns about identity fraud. Of course, you don't want someone coming back to you after they've had their identity stolen and say, you had means to do this because you had my password. So all of that aside, these are the hiring issues. On the other side, though, the issue is really what are people posting, on Facebook. And those take us to really the issues of people being fired for what they post on the internet.